I call this public hearing of the America250PA Infrastructure Improvements and Projects Committee to order. The purpose of today's hearing is to identify infrastructure and projects that not only highlight each region's history and contributions to our shared history up to and including the Semiquincentennial, say that 3 times fast, in 2026. The committee is tasked with identifying potential infrastructure investments and projects to showcase Pennsylvania's vital role in the establishment and growth of our nation. And in the last 250 years since our nation's founding in 1776, the committee was established as the legislative advisory group to support the work on the larger America250PA organization. It is a bipartisan and bicameral effort, and our work has been subdivided into 6 regions of Pennsylvania, each of which is represented by 2 members, 1 of each party of the Pennsylvania House and Pennsylvania Senate, as well as members from our overall leadership team and ex officio members. And before we begin, I would really like to thank the historical Yorktown Hotel for hosting our meeting here today and the exceptional help we received from the York County Economic Alliance in making this all happen. And with that, I'd like to welcome my co-chair, Representative Jared Solomon from Philadelphia to York County, and offer him the opportunity to share a few remarks.
Thank you so much, Senator. So my name is Jared Solomon. I'm a state representative in Northeast Philadelphia. So we are trying with this committee to figure out ways to weave the history of York County and Philadelphia and Erie County and Center County together in what hopefully is representative of the great history and future of Pennsylvania. If we get this right, this is a no-fail proposition, truly, because hopefully this is the first hearing we have. So we'll take testimony today. You will provide, and we'll be back in this region for another hearing, but you will provide what you think 2026 should look like in York County. Not just 2026, but beyond. We'll do the same in Philadelphia and in all 67 counties. And the idea is by the end of these tours, we have buy-in from stakeholders like you, from elected officials like us, and from people who make sort of the civic fabric of each county work. And if we do that right, in all counties, we can't lose. We just need to get these hearings right so that by 2026 and beyond, we can completely transform the infrastructure landscape of Pennsylvania. It's a pleasure to be in York County. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Representative Solomon. And I would like to bring up our first testifier today, and that is Joan Mummert. And she is with the York County History Center. Thank you so much for being here today, and look forward to your remarks.
Thank you. Good morning, co-chairs Senator Phillips Hill and Representative Solomon and members of the committee. My name is Joan Mummert. I serve as the president and CEO of the York County History Center. It is an honor and a privilege to share York County History Center's plan to improve the structures where the Second Continental Congress, as well as some members of the Continental Army, conversed and debated the elements of a fledgling government while staying in Yorktown, or as we know it today, York. In brief, the colonial complex is comprised of 4 structures, 2 of which were significantly important to the American Revolution: the Golden Plough Tavern and the Horatio Gates House, both of which were restored to their original form in 1963. A third building, the replica colonial courthouse, was constructed in 1975 for the bicentennial, creating tourism and teaching the important work completed during the Second Continental Congress's 9 months in Yorktown. It is these three structures that we seek to improve by installing climate control, upgraded electric systems, property enhancement, creating safe year-round access to these iconic and historic buildings. These changes will allow the History Center to foster greater understanding of York's role during the American Revolution, creating enhanced and expanded tourism to our community. Expanding access to these buildings, coupled with visitor-centric experiences, will satisfy the epic mission of America250PA to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate. Relatively unchanged since the 1960s and 1975 respectively, improvements will provide year-round access to tourists and schools, substantially increasing the History Center's ability to share the important stories that shaped our nation. Therefore, we respectfully request funding of $930,000 to vastly expand the complex and compelling stories of York and York County's connection to the American Revolution. The York County History Center, as an organization, strives to help community members and visitors understand the past to illuminate the future, using inclusive, authentic storytelling based on its extensive collections and structures. Comprised of 3 museums, 4 historic properties, and a replica colonial-era courthouse, the organization shares history that spans over 300 years, with focus on the American Revolution. Our work involves innovative experiential exhibits and engaging programs to serve multiple audiences. Right now, our organization is in the midst of a transformational change, creating a $30 million museum, library, and archive almost adjacent to our colonial complex. Our economic study of this destination states that visitation will likely increase by 55%, drawing from millions of potential visitors that live within an hour of York County. Museums and historic sites are important to communities in that they draw the highest value history and heritage tourists, those that spend more, stay longer, and thus play a key role in economic development. In the darkest days of the American Revolution, when the Second Continental Congress fled Philadelphia seeking safety from the British, York, Pennsylvania offered protection. It was in York where John Dickinson's original draft of the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union were discussed, fomenting a centuries-long debate on the merits of a strong central government versus states' rights. If wrestling to craft the framework for a new government was not enough, the ongoing management of a war effort during the winter at Valley Forge, and a brewing conflict between General Horatio Gates and General George Washington meant that Congress's work, while in York, was important to our country's founding. As we know, numerous founding fathers spent time in York during this period. John Hancock, Sam Adams, Thomas Paine, Henry Lawrence, Philip Livingston, along with notable figures such as General George Washington, the Marquis de Lafayette. As newly appointed head of the Board of War, General Gates required ready access to Congress. Okay.
We should have noted that, so poor Joan did not jump out of her seat when that bell went off. So this presented him with an opportunity to manipulate Congress into abandoning George Washington. In short, a dinner was held at the Gatehouse where he failed to unseat Washington when General Lafayette raised a glass in support of his friend, the commander, effectively thwarting what is known as the Conway Cabal. Do you want me to keep going? All right. I'll go to the end. According to the latest report in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania creates $66 billion in economic impact, welcoming 180 million visitors in 2021. Locally, York County, the History Center is a part of a robust arts, cultural, and heritage sector that generates $18 million in consumer spending and approximately $125 million in wages each year. Within 100 miles of York County, more than 8 million people reside. That's less than a 2-hour drive. York County
York and York County are centrally located between Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, making a day trip or overnight an easy experience. Let me just flip to the end. Our project involves climate control that includes HVAC systems, thermal barriers within the buildings themselves, making them accessible year-round, which they are not right now. They're only available to the public really in the warmer climates, so late April through early November, and sometimes those are closed because of heat. These structures are important because General Lafayette noted how important York was as the seat of the American Union during our gloomy times. Indeed, communications between the Continental Congress in York and Valley Forge, General Washington, the Marquis de Lafayette, and a host of others during the Revolution were extensive and well documented. The colonial complex buildings offer important context to tourists, community members alike, when learning about our first Constitution, the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. The Treaties of Alliance were also adopted during their Second Continental Congress's time in York, and a myriad of stories about people and places in York and York County that contributed to our country's fight for independence and a new style of government. Our connections throughout York County to many counties in the Commonwealth only strengthened the ability of the York County History Center to expand its connections to nationally renowned museums such as Valley Forge, the Museum of American Revolution, the Constitution Center, Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell Center, and more. Museums and historic sites visitors desire and pursue authentic, interactive, engaging experiences. There is no better opportunity than to create those within the structures that actually hosted those long ago conversations and debates by the founders of our democracy. Thank you again for the opportunity to share our community's important history and for considering an investment to expand access and improve infrastructure.
Joan, thank you so much. I'd like to turn it over for any questions from the panel.
Very quick. So obviously this is the full project. Is the project able to be scaled if in fact? Sorry. This is obviously the full project. Is the project able to be scaled if the funding were to come in to be able to do some of this?
Yes, I think the most important piece of it is the climate control
Yep.
for Gates and Plow, not only to expand visitorship, but also to preserve those buildings.
Sure.
Because they are failing.
Okay, and can this be completed by 2026?
I believe so.
That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Representative Paszynski. Representative Solomon.
Thank you, Joan. You had mentioned some of your other partners in different parts of the state. Is there any possible coordination that you could have with them in terms of not just the ask here, but in how you're going to present the experience in 2026, so that as people are traveling throughout the state, the touch points along the way are all coordinated as visitors are coming in?
We're just pulling together our committee to work on the 250th, but it's been in our body of work, but not on the forefront, to create stronger relationships with Scott Stevenson at the Museum of American Revolution. We're very close to him. We've worked with him on a variety of different things. I think the Constitution Center also gives us the strongest opportunity to connect with them. So yes, it has been on our radar. This puts it in the front burner.
Thank you very much, Joan. Appreciate your testimony here today.
Thank you for the little extra time.
Absolutely. And so all the future testifiers are forewarned. There will be a lovely little bell that will ding when you get within 30 seconds of the end of your time. But before we move on, I'd like to recognize here with us today is Brian Tate. He is the York County Register of Wills and Clerk of Orphans Court. That is a very long title. He is also the chairman of the York County Commission for America 250 PA, so we're very grateful. As we all know, yesterday was Election Day, so all of our county officials and our locally elected officials were very, very busy and probably had a very late night, so we're very grateful that you're here today, Brian. Also would like to recognize, if they would like to offer brief remarks, Seth Rolko. He is from the office of Senator Lisa Boscola. Seth, would you like to share any opening remarks?
I just want to say thank you for hosting us here at the Yorktown Hotel. It's a magnificent space, and looking forward to hearing all the testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Glad to have you here. And my former colleague in the House, Representative Eddie Day Pashinsky. Would you care to offer any opening remarks?
I'm just here to say thank you very much, Senator, for having me. It's a wonderful experience. I think when you begin to think about the magnitude of 250 years, you know, the success stories and the brilliant work that has been done, and now what we need to continue to do for the next 250 years. So you're playing a major role in it, and thank Judy again for her great testimony, and it's the best paper I've ever felt in my entire life. Where'd you get this paper, Judy? Does this go back that far? This is super.
I made the copies. Thank you.
You made the copies?
Eddie, you can have anything made here in York County, so it was probably made here.
That's what I like. So thank you for having us, and looking forward to the rest of the testimony. And we are open to any suggestions or any recommendations. Please feel free. If not today, you know, continue the connectivity. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Representative. And last but certainly not least, Cassandra Coleman, who is the Executive Director of America 250 PA.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for being here today. And it's an honor to serve as the Executive Director of America 250 PA, which is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's commission that was charged with planning and coordinating all of the programming projects and events in anticipation of 2026 and the 250th anniversary. We're proud to say that we are building this foundation thanks to partners like all of you and the support. We have over a dozen programs and projects that are rolling out in all 67 counties, so I encourage you to look on our website and see the ones that are happening here in the region. And I want to thank our co-chairs for their efforts on the Infrastructure Improvements and Projects Committee here, because again, these are legacy projects that will long outlive America 250 PA, but will, to Representative Solomon's point, really transform the future of Pennsylvania if we do this right. So thanks again for taking the time to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. And our next testifier is Silas Chamberlain. He is with the York County Economic Alliance and also with the York County Trail Towns program. Take it away, Silas.
Thank you. And good morning to the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. I'm Silas Chamberlain. I serve as Chief Strategy Officer and Vice President of Economic Development at the York County Economic Alliance. We are York County's Chamber of Commerce and Certified Economic Development Organization. And before I jump into our proposal, I just want to echo the Senator's comments about the Yorktown Hotel. Thank you for being here this morning. It was 6 years of redevelopment that led to the opening of the hotel, led by the Industrial Development Authority of our county and the York County Economic Alliance. So we're really happy that the doors are open, and we think that the hotel is a perfect example of the types of public-private partnerships the York County Economic Alliance works to foster across York County. Another such public-private partnership, although with a slightly smaller price tag, is the subject of our proposal to this committee, and that's the York County Trail Towns program. York County Trail Towns is active in 7 communities across the county, including the City of York, Seven Valleys, Glen Rock, Railroad, New Freedom, Hanover, and Wrightsville. The program, which is now entering its 3rd year, helps promote tourism and economic development in communities adjacent to public trails and open space through a variety of public improvements, marketing, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, and implementation of other community priorities. 5 of the 7 communities are located along York's very popular Heritage Rail Trail, which links central York County along 26 miles of beautiful trail to the Mason-Dixon line. During the 250th anniversary, we anticipate large numbers of visitors coming to York County with, as you just heard from Joan Mummert of the York County History Center, a strong focus on the colonial complex in the city of York. While at this location, visitors will be just steps away from the Heritage Rail Trail and easy access to its 5 trailside communities. With the growing popularity of outdoor recreation-based tourism, we anticipate many visitors will want to branch out from downtown York to other parts of York County using the Heritage Rail Trail. As they travel south, they'll find unique small towns that each have their rich history and ties to the Revolution and the early years of the Republic. To ensure visitors to these communities have a meaningful and well-curated experience, we propose using new public investment from America250 to improve public infrastructure such as street crossings, directional signage, facade improvements, bike racks, tourist information, public art, and other amenities that will cater to out-of-town visitors during and after the anniversary. These improvements have already been planned by each community as part of their Trail Towns Action Plan, but new public funding will help accelerate and expand the plan's implementation. For example, one catalytic project that would benefit from additional funds is the redevelopment of Ruins Hall in historic Glen Rock Borough into a trailhead and public plaza for large festivals, and that is highlighted in the handout before you. And I have to note with some shame that is printed on economy grade copier paper. We'll have to talk to our supply company. Thank you. We believe that additional public investment will also build on the York County Trail Towns pending Creative Communities designation from the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, which has been approved and is awaiting funding. This designation recognizes the trail towns and the trail itself as platforms for exposing visitors to the unique arts, culture, and heritage of the region, including its colonial and early Republic agrarian and small-town character. The Heritage Rail Trail hosts approximately 500,000 visitors each year, and we anticipate that figure growing substantially during the 250th anniversary. While many trail users are York County residents, substantial numbers come from Harrisburg, Lancaster, Reading, and the Philadelphia Metro, and a significant 13% of users come from Maryland, suggesting that the trail is a draw for interstate tourism. York County Economic Alliance launched the Trail Towns program because it was a key economic development strategy identified in the county's 10-year economic action plan. Each year, the Heritage Rail Trail generates more than $3 million in consumer spending, and a major goal of our program is to increase that figure substantially by promoting more businesses in each community and more amenities to extend visitor stays. The 250th anniversary has incredible potential to attract visitors to our community to celebrate and appreciate our history while meeting our goals of small business growth and small town revitalization. Investing in our proven Trail Towns program is a way to realize both opportunities across 7 York County communities. Thanks again to the committee for the invitation to provide testimony and for being in York this morning.
Well done, Silas. Your timing was impeccable. I'd like to open up to my colleagues for any questions of Silas regarding this Heritage Rail Trail proposal. Okay.
Just
Representative Paszynski.
Thank you, Senator. Great job there, Silas. You mentioned the trail is drawing a lot of people now from Maryland. We're working on that trail all the way through Pennsylvania up into the Northeast and beyond. Did you mention a number of how many people are coming from Maryland to visit?
It's 13% of our roughly 500,000 visitors.
Okay, 500,000 people. Okay.
I'm a history major, so I can't do that math quickly, but
Well, that's 65,000 people, so that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yes, because I think that's one of the other advantages of this trail. You're bringing more and more people here, and again, to experience all the good work that's been done. It just spreads a positive image of the whole system. So thank you for your work. Judy, thank you for your work as well. And thank you. That's all I needed. What's that? Joan. Oh, started with a J. Started with a J. It's the paper. I'm still... Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Representative Solomon.
Thanks, Silas. So you said the trail goes through 6 communities, 7?
It's 5 historic boroughs, or it's 4 boroughs south of the city of York and the city of York. And then there's 2 communities that are off the Heritage Rail Trail but are part of our program as well.
And you talked about, I think in your testimony, about how kind of you have a re-envisioning plan for what those main corridors would look like. Do you actually have that? Like what changes you'd like to see?
Yeah, so we have a Trail Towns action plan that we developed over the course of a year with support from DCD, and now we've been working for the last 2 years to implement that plan. And it's a range from very large capital projects like the Ruins Hall complex that you see in the handout to relatively small things like, improving the facade of a building right where people enter the town from the trail. We're currently designing a signage program that right now we have the design funding for, but we'll need to implement so that when people are coming off the trail, they know what services are there, they know what the next trail is. Basic infrastructure like that up to multi-million-dollar projects.
So you use the trail to sort of spark that catalyst for those type of development. And you have corridor managers who would direct all of this management in each of those communities?
So right now it's all led by the York County Economic Alliance, but we have a lot of good partners. Our county parks department does a great job of taking care of the trail itself. Each community has their own action team of elected officials, small business owners, advocates, and then at a county level, our Cultural Alliance of York County, our Tourism and Visitor Bureau, are great partners as well. So we have a lot of help, but York County Economic Alliance leads that work.
Thanks, Silas.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Silas, there are 7 pieces of public art celebrating the 250th. Can you speak a little more about what you're envisioning with those public art pieces?
So that vision really comes out of work that we've done with the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts to envision how to use public art for revitalization within these communities, and that led us towards that creative communities designation. And the idea is really that we have a great, very robust artist community in York County. We want to use all that visitation on the trail and into those towns as a platform to put that art on display. And with the 250th coming up, we think there's an opportunity to have that art that we're already working on envisioning reflect the anniversary and the rich history of the region. We kind of feel like it already was going to, because a lot of the art that's already in those towns talks about the rich industrial history, key figures. But I think challenging our artists to think about, the early Republic period, the establishment of the country as a theme that might connect them all together would be, worthwhile. And then our hope would be that allows people to say, well, I saw the 5 here, I want to go and see the 2 there, or vice versa, and really create that kind of churn that we want to see with tourists visiting multiple communities.
And these are permanent art installments?
Yes.
Okay.
These would be, permanent public installations.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions for Silas? Thank you very much for your testimony today. Our next testifier is Richard Geidel. He is with the Friends of Camp Security.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I must confess, as I'm under the stern gaze of General Washington.
Richard, if I could, can you please make sure that your microphone is on?
Oh, I didn't know I had a microphone.
That's okay.
Okay.
And
We better here?
give us the appropriate name tag if
I'm
you
not used
could.
Okay.
That's,
Thank
well,
you for, I'm sorry.
if you could switch out your name card so
Oh.
everyone makes sure that you're Richard and not Robert.
Yeah, I get myself mixed up too. So.
Perfect.
Thank
you so much.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
No, you're going to do great.
As I said, being under the stern view of General Washington, I must confess that until I walked in here, I did not know I was testifying here today. So I did help participate in preparing this, so I have some knowledge, and I've been My name is Richard Geidel. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Friends of Camp Security. Friends of Camp Security is a 501(c)(3) volunteer organization that was created to counter the proposed residential development of the site of Camp Security. We were able, in partnership with the State Museum and various other organizations, to get the site protected, and it's now owned by Springettsbury Township. And with private funding and matching grants from the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission and the National Trust for Historic Preservation, we've been conducting archaeological investigations of the Camp Security site since 2014. Camp Security was a prisoner of war camp complex established in York County during the Revolutionary War. As far as it is known, it's the only such camp, and there were never very many of them, to survive modern development. So it's the only one where we actually have the physical location of the camp preserved. It operated between July of 1781 and May of 1783 and housed approximately 2,000 people. We don't know the exact numbers, including British soldiers who were captured at the battles of Saratoga and Yorktown, as well as, in many cases, their wives and children who accompanied them, as was common at the time, while they were on campaign. The complex consisted of 2 residential camps, the actual Camp Security, which was a palisaded stockade, and another camp which was given kind of unofficially the name of Camp Indulgence, in which some prisoners who were considered reliable were allowed to live outside the prison camp and actually engage in economic activities within the county. There were also, of course, guard huts, a hospital, a cemetery located nearby. As a historic resource, this site provides a tangible connection to events that contributed to our national to the nation's foundation and a personal history of many York County residents, many of whom are descended from militiamen who guarded the camp. And some may be descended from prisoners who, when they were released from the camp, settled in York County. Our archaeological investigations are paired in the planning process with the development of access paths and interpretive signage to make this, that will help make this project a direct and meaningful connection to the 250th anniversary of the United States. York County residents in general are major stakeholders in this project, since many are direct descendants of Camp Security guards. And our project not only intersects local and national history, but the personal history of many of these residents. We provide, or will provide, a rare opportunity for these individuals to connect with their family histories through direct participation in the archaeological process. All of our excavations so far have been conducted under the direction of a professional archaeologist, but mainly by volunteers. I'm one of those volunteers. I'm a retired archaeologist, so I'm a step above, I guess, just a regular volunteer. But our volunteers so far, we've had over 350 volunteers, and they've donated over almost 10,000 hours to the archaeology at Camp Security up until this year. We're out there now, right now, excavating. I'd be there now if I wasn't here sweating. But the site is not particularly accessible. It's certainly not visible from any road, and there's not much to see if it was visible. So we want to increase the accessibility. We believe that this project will create 10 to 15 jobs, including archaeological work that will again be largely with volunteer effort, but will involve more professional archaeologists with the skills necessary to locate and interpret the features. We think it will help increase tourism revenues in York County, and think that this project should be similar eventually in scale and size to things like Fort Necessity or Fort Loudon. So I can ramble on, but I think I want to stop because I'm not sure where I'll start repeating myself. So, again, I apologize because like I said, I had no idea I was here this morning.
Well, on very short notice.
Yes, ma'am.
You did a really wonderful job.
Thank you.
Presenting the great work that's being done
Yes.
by the
We're
Friends
very
of
proud
Camp
what we're doing out
Security,
there.
as you should be. So I will see if any of our
Yes.
Representative Pashinsky.
I'll take these off so I can see you now.
Thank you very much, Richard. Great testimony. So let's say we get this access road. That's what your main goal is here, to provide an access area? So
Well, part of our funding would be to support the archaeological investigations. Like I said, we use all volunteers, or mostly volunteers at this point, but we are just starting to really try to find the actual site of the palisaded camp. We literally discovered the palisade 2 days before the last field season last year. So that from 2014 to 2022, we had nothing in the ground that we could say was part of camp security. Once you start to find those kind of features, volunteers have much less experience at kind of excavating features and interpreting them so that we can retain the information. Because once we dig a feature up, by definition, archaeology destroys archaeological sites. So once we dig it up, whatever information was in there is no longer in the ground. So we want to, and our plan is to partner with a university here in Pennsylvania to provide field schools. 5 field schools over a 3-year period leading up to 2026 to try. We don't think we can excavate the entire camp, but enough to know where the palisade was, how big it was, and give us some kind of guidance to look for ancillary features that might have been outside that camp, like the hospital or guard huts and things like that.
So in the sense of reality, a regular tourist really wouldn't see anything other than excavation. So it would be people that are very much interested in that science.
Certainly during the time of the 250th and 2026, we'll still have archaeologists in the field. So they will be able to see the archaeological site. After that, the township is planning to do interpretive signage and things like that for people who want to come and visit the site and provide the accessibility that it now does not have.
Are there any buildings there now?
No, nothing.
No. Okay.
And in fact, as early as 1907, a history of York County lamented that this site has disappeared. There's nothing there now, and unless we do something, it's just going to be a legend. So.
And do you anticipate any interesting historical objects or anything of that?
Well, we've already recovered a few things. Buttons from the uniforms of the soldiers that were there. We know, we've done a lot of historical research. We have lists of all the British units that were at the camp. And we also have some of them, the reenactment groups associated with those groups have already reached out about when they come over for the 250th, they would like to see the camp because their people were here.
Okay.
And we have recovered not only buttons and military things like bullets and things like that, but ceramics and just other kinds of artifacts. Our feeling is probably things were rough on these prisoners that were in camp security. They were not well provided for. And so they were probably pretty economical with things like buttons. You know, they'd have to replace the cloth, but the buttons, they couldn't make new ones. So that may explain why some of there's somewhat of a dearth. There was also, when this site was abandoned, it was immediately ravaged by the local community. Okay. All the timbers were taken to build houses and fences, and people over the years have walked the fields and picked stuff up, many of whom we don't even have any way to contact anymore. Okay. We hear it's almost legendary that, you know, oh yeah, my grandmother used to pick stuff up. I don't know whatever happened to it. So.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good. Rick, if I could, did some reading on your proposed project, and it is on a national list. Can you talk about any of the work that you've done with national organizations and any designations that your site has received?
Well, it's on the Pennsylvania State Archaeological Site Survey records. It's recorded as an archaeological site. As far as I know, it has. I didn't. You've got information that I don't have.
Well, then I'll have to share it with you.
National designation. We are in contact with the National Battlefields, whatever they call themselves, the battlefield preservation people, that they might be interested in helping support this project as well. So we are working with them.
And in terms of tourism for this site, can you speak to the number of individuals who are reenactors who'd come from overseas to visit this site?
We don't, so far we've had just a couple that happen to be in the United States, and camp security until last year was not well publicized generally because there wasn't much to publicize. Last year when we started to find the Palisades, suddenly we were in the paper all over the world, and folks started to get very interested. Our historic researchers have also kind of generated some of that interest because they've reached out to some of those organizations. So I think, I'm hoping that we anticipate a lot of people coming from the United Kingdom to participate in the 250th in one way or another. They're part of it too. And certainly we have had expressions of interest of groups that they're already planning to come to Boston and do some sort of activity up there and maybe make a side trip down. So.
Very good. Are there any other questions for Mr. Geidel? Oh, Seth.
So Richard, you mentioned, I was going to ask if you were going to partner with any institutions of higher learning.
Yes.
Could you expand a little bit on that? Because I know Pennsylvania has some colleges and university with archaeology programs.
We haven't finalized who we want to do yet, but probably the preeminent one doing this kind of work in Pennsylvania right now is Juniata University. They have done field schools at other historic sites of this time period, or at least the early colonial period, and they would be eminently qualified to create the kind of field school that we need here. The Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission did investigate in 1979 a portion of this site, portion of the site called Camp Indulgence, but it was very quick. They went in with backhoes, took off the topsoil, ran around and collected artifacts and covered it back up. And there's not a lot of information other than the artifacts that came out of that. So that Camp Indulgence site really needs to be re-looked at as part of this.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today and for the good work that you and the Friends of Camp Security are doing. Really appreciate it.
Not to take up too much time, but we do have 2 public days scheduled for this field season on June 5th and June 10th. No reservations or anything. You just come out. You can go on our website, you can get the location of the camp. And we invite everyone to come out and take a look at this place.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. We are going to change the order of testifiers and bring Jonathan Desmarius to testify from Downtown Inc.
All right, good morning, and thank you to the committee for allowing me the time and space to provide my testimony here this morning. My name is Jonathan Damaris. I'm the director of Downtown Inc. We are the Main Street organization for downtown York. We are also an affiliate of the York County Economic Alliance, and we also work very closely in hand with the York County Trail Towns program. If you were to walk out of the Yorktown Hotel through the arrival plaza, you would arrive on Mason Ave. And of course, on this side of the hotel, we have historic Market Street. So today, I'm presenting to you the Mason Ave Mural Walk and Multimodal Enhancement Project. Mason Ave, which is only a half block away from Market Street, already provides residents, visitors, and employees a walking route connecting the recently restored Yorktown Hotel with the York Transit Center as well as the York Heritage Rail Trail. This 3-block corridor, while frequented by numerous pedestrians, is largely unsafe, unappealing, and ADA inaccessible. And in fact, today on the way to the hotel, I walked through Mason Ave. A lot of folks are walking to and from work, well, I guess in the morning, mostly to work, but there are a lot of folks out on Mason Ave. And in your packet there, I also have some photos of what Mason Ave looks like today on the few pages in, so you can kind of get an idea as to the lay of the land here. The proposed Mason Ave Mural Walk and Multimodal Enhancement Project would transform an underutilized alleyway connecting major downtown hubs, increase ADA accessibility, create a desirable tourist destination, increase active transportation safety, showcase local artists, tell the story of York's past and present and role in PA and American history, create a driver for further economic development, and provide the city with a new community identifier. The project would seek to overhaul the existing street service with drainage updates, alignment of underground utilities, a designated pedestrian walkway, pedestrian scale LED lights, trash recycling enclosures, crosswalk enhancements, streetscape enhancements such as plants, benches, and potential sculptures, and the installation of roughly 40 to 60 large-scale murals telling the history of York and its connection to the founding of the Commonwealth and the United States. And as you look through your packet, there's just some preliminary photoshopped kind of versions of what this could potentially look like. I am no artist, so obviously we would leave it to the artist to do something a little more appealing than what I've created. Downtown York has witnessed immense economic development over the past few years, and the Yorktown is testament to that, and a lot of development continues. You're coming to downtown York at a good time because a lot of great things are happening around town. This project, which links the recently restored historic Yorktown Hotel, which is not only a tourist destination, it's also a major downtown employer. It links it to the York Heritage Rail Trail, which is a major pathway for employment and recreation. And of course, the York Transit Center, which is York City's hub for public transit to the county's major employers, retail centers, and other amenities. And on page 2 there's a rough map of that as well, showing those 3 hubs that are being connected by Mason Ave. Connecting these 3 anchors with a safe and desirable walking route will enhance and expedite much of the city's economic upward trajectory. And if I could point out a few more things in the slide deck that you have in front of you. If you were to look at the what Mason Ave looks like today, obviously I happen to take photos on trash day, so one of the most least appealing days. But you also see a lot of blank spaces, blank canvases, a chance for us to tell history through murals. If you've been to West Reading, you may be familiar with their recently completed mural walk, which they used the largely underutilized alleyway to tell local history, and it's become very much a tourist destination. The day that I visited West Reading, they had people taking selfies using the QR codes on the murals, getting free promotion for their downtown, and I envision this very much being a similar experience here in downtown York. Of course, in addition, connecting to the transit center, the rail trail, and the historic Yorktown Hotel. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jonathan on downtown York's presentation? Representative Solomon.
Thank you, Jonathan. So I'm assuming you and Silas work together on a lot of projects, right?
We do, yep.
Okay, so all of the areas that would be impacted by his project, or some of those similar to what would be impacted by yours?
Yeah, absolutely. And even with what the History Center is doing with the new steam plant we heard about earlier, is also in that same area of where the Mason Ave connects with the rail trail. So a lot of that work is in conjunction with that. All of the work of the trail towns, being that one of the major anchors of the trail towns program is downtown York and York City. We work in conjunction on various projects.
So the idea would be to get the aesthetic on all these sort of consistent as you're moving through the different communities.
Absolutely, and certainly with the Trailtown's current wayfinding project that they're looking to do in the near future would also connect folks through the Mason Ave, and certainly if they had the ability to stay here at the Yorktown Hotel, which we're also trying to get as a trail-friendly designated business, would be only further expand that capacity of getting folks through downtown York safely, either on bike or on foot, and connecting to the rest of the rail trail communities.
Thanks so much.
Jonathan, York City has exceptional murals. This proposal is for new murals. It's not to enhance, repair, or restore existing murals. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, there's a need for the preservation and restoration of some of our historic murals, but this is proposing a new concept using Mason Ave as kind of the template for this walking, pedestrian-oriented path.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Thank you for your testimony here today.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it. We have one last testifier who was not able to make it today. We will look to acquire that testimony at a later time. As was indicated, there will be 2 hearings in each of the 6 regions. This is the first for the South Central region. We anticipate another hearing. I don't have the date in mind. Cass, are we?
It's July.
It's in
July
July.
27th in Dauphin County.
So it's July 27th. It will be in Dauphin County. So that will be a great opportunity for our friends of Lebanon Cemetery to present officially, and for any other organizations in South Central Pennsylvania, York County, to provide testimony as well. And I want to thank everyone. As you can see, there is ample reasons to come and explore York County. There's a lot of good things going on here. And I have to tell you that I'm really grateful to be on a committee with 11 other legislators, because if I had to choose today, I don't know if I could do it. So these projects were exceptional, and really appreciate the work and time and effort that everyone put into creating these projects and their testimony here today. Again, thank you to all of the testifiers, to all of the members, and all of the volunteers who participated in today's hearing. I'm going to see if any of my colleagues have closing remarks to share.
Thank you, Senator. I just want to compliment all of you. Your good work, your ingenuity, your creativity. You provide a much better quality of life for everyone. And again, retaining that history, which is so vital for our children to understand, the greatness of this country. We talked about Pennsylvania being the Keystone State. It's the Keystone State for a reason. And I think we want to continue to develop that so that in 250, the world will know Pennsylvania was and still is the Keystone State. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Representative.
I want to thank all the testifiers again for providing us with the information, and thanks for having us. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you. And I will turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Solomon from Philadelphia, with just a little reminder that, Philadelphia had a big role, but ultimately it was York that kept our founders safe and continued this great nation. We wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for York County. And with that, Representative Solomon.
Oh, they got applause. And Eddie, you forgot to mention bringing quality paper to Pennsylvania. Yeah, unbelievable paper. I really thank you. We would love you to keep in touch with us. So what you liked about these hearings, what you did not, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, let us know. because the idea is, as when we come back and also as we go throughout the Commonwealth, we want to continue to improve, and we would love that feedback from you. So thanks so much.
Indeed, and our next public hearing is scheduled for Friday, June 2nd. We'll be up in Center County, and it's going to be very interesting. But again, I'm very York County proud, so I'm anxious to see what other counties and parts of the state have to offer, but I think we're pretty special here. So with that, I would like to now call the end to this hearing, and the committee now stands in recess until the call of the chairs. Thank you so much, everyone.